So, Madam Speaker, we have a choice before us. We can vote for this striker, which, as I mentioned, will fully fund the governor's budget, which was completely adequate 2 weeks ago. We can deliver $30 car tabs to our constituents. We can exempt basic personal necessities like hygiene products, diapers, and breast pumps that we always talk about but have never done. We can fully fund the working families tax credit that so many people in this chamber want to fund. We can fully fund that. We can address the homelessness crisis on a sustainable, ongoing basis, not a one-time basis. And all we have to do is go to conference in the next 10 days to find $300 million out of this $56 billion budget to reprioritize. I am confident we can do that, Madam Speaker.
On the one hand, you have the majority party that is really interested in growing government. But from our perspective, from the Republican perspective, we believe that a good portion of this money should go back to the hard-working taxpayers.
This isn't our money. This is the people's money. This is the people of the state of Washington's tax dollars that is hard-earned. And in a period of unprecedented economic growth, let's give some of it back.
With $2.4 billion in extra revenue, they're using every excuse in the books to not give you a tax break, including the $30 car tab, which you, Washington state voters, approved.
We put a budget on the floor that said, hey, this is a base budget. You guys jumped in with some amendments. We like, come on in, it's great. We can do this together. So my ask for you is that you support a bipartisan budget, and let's finish the session in a bipartisan fashion rather than a budget that's written in an echo chamber.
Has every member voted? Madam Speaker, there are 37 yeas, 58 nays, 3 excused. The striker is not adopted.
What this striker does, a little differently than the one we considered earlier, was it focuses the bulk of our surplus in tax receipts that we're enjoying right now to a property tax reduction.
This tax break on property taxes for people around the state was structured to reflect the $2.4 billion in surplus tax dollars we're receiving in Olympia. So it was calibrated to basically be something we could afford within that surplus $2.4 billion that we're collecting right now.
I believe that the most effective economic stimulus we can put together here in this House is tax reform and tax breaks to the taxpayers of Washington. That's the best we can do, Madam Speaker. And we have the opportunity now, with hundreds of millions, and in the midterm, billions of dollars in surplus tax receipts. We can return that money to the people of Washington.
And we took on several amendments that the Democrats suggested for adding some services and other activities to the budget. But it would have done those things as well as the property tax cut.
We've proven twice now that these are the things we agree on. Let's make them the priority. Let's make the tax relief the priority. And let's make a good budget that makes the people of our state more confident and more secure and continues the economic growth that we've enjoyed, that's given us this bounty of tax receipts that allows us to afford both property tax relief and the good services that we've discussed here on the floor tonight.
The Speaker has opened the roll call machine.
Madam Speaker, there are 43 yeas, 51 nays, 4 excused.
The amendment is not adopted.
Madam Speaker, I've been here since 2015, and the governor's been in office since 2013. And since he took in office, after we pass this budget tonight, spending will have increased by over 75%. Madam Speaker, has your personal family income grown by 75% since 2013? I know that mine hasn't, and I don't know if many of my constituents have either. Yet government now gets to spend 75% more than it did in 2013. And I don't think that's appropriate to go home and tell our constituents that we get to enjoy a 75% increase in our spending ability when they're lucky if they have a 20 or 30% increase in their spending ability.
When we continue to spend and spend and spend, as this budget does, as you've heard, I mean, really, you've got $2 billion more in spending without any tax relief. I sit and I think, what if we actually let our constituents, the taxpayers, keep more of that money.
We have an ending fund balance of $60 million. Going into the 2007-09 budget cycle, this legislature enacted a budget that had a $560 million ending fund balance, and then subsequently took a $3 billion hit in the largest financial crisis of our times. I don't think we're on the verge of that, but I think we do have a recession in sight, and if that might not be this year. It might be another year, it could be 2 years, I don't know. But we need to put ourselves in a better economic footing to be able to weather through those storms, because when those happen, we have two options. That's to cut the social safety net programs that are most needed then, or you raise taxes. And those two scenarios in an economic downturn are the worst possible things you can do.
What I would ask for you and the small handful of people that are going to be negotiating budgets is to take a second look and think hard about the bow wave that we are creating. Because, Madam Speaker, if we are truly compassionate, we will dial that way back. We will defer the joy of spending more money, because it is far, far more important to avoid the deep pain that I am absolutely sure is coming.
Washington State has a $2.4 billion budget surplus, and we could have passed a budget off the House floor tonight that fully funded critical government services and provided meaningful tax relief to hardworking Washington families. Unfortunately, the budget passed by the majority party didn't provide any tax relief and spent nearly every last dollar on growing the size and scope of government. We hear a lot of talk down here about putting people first, but unfortunately, the budget we just passed only puts government first. We could have done a lot better. We should have delivered meaningful tax relief to the hardworking families of Washington, and we really missed our chance to do good for the taxpayers of Washington State.